Are you satisfied with the current progress in the negotiations?
Well, negotiations are part of diplomacy. They can be surprisingly quick sometimes. They can, for good reasons, take a very long time. In principle, I would say I am satisfied with where we are right now with the diplomatic process, with negotiations, but there's always room for more success.
The U.S. has urged both sides to meet on the presidential level for months, and now it looks like there will be a meeting in the fall. So why was this meeting so important, and what are the U.S. or mediators' expectations from this meeting? Is this return to negotiation process?
Well, I think it's terribly important for the sides at the highest levels to return to a real negotiation process. That got sidelined by the April 2016 events, the military events, and the two presidents did meet twice after that in Vienna and St. Petersburg, but that was in the aftermath of the military violence. There hasn't been a real, I think, political discussion at the highest level for several years now, and it's time to return to that. And so, in September, the three co-chairs, along with Ambassador Kasperczyk, will meet with the two foreign ministers to further prepare for a possible meeting of the two presidents. They need to decide that this is what they want to do. I am cautiously optimistic this will happen, but I don't want to say that we have a point right now that we can announce this. That is the goal we're working toward. We're optimistic about it. Let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens.
How frequently do you contact with the officials Baku and Yerevan?
How frequently? That depends on, there are several ways to do it. Let me put it that way. The three OSCE co-chairs, France, the United States, and Russia, generally travel to the two countries, to the two capitals, about every 3 months. But we all have each other's cell phones, numbers, we all have each other's emails, and so the co-chairs will quite frequently do a quick telephone call with one foreign minister or another. So there are several ways to be in contact, electronically or face-to-face. Face-to-face, generally it's every 3 months.
Oh, that you've mentioned the importance of returning to the real negotiations. Mm-hmm. I would like to know, and I'm sure many people would like to know, are there any new proposals on the table? Are there any changed proposals? Anything new on the table? What are you going to offer to sides?
You know, we've talked about the proposals on the table for a very long time now. And what we mean is there is an actual document, and it's very comprehensive. But there are steps and steps and stages and stages. So I would hope that in the next highest level negotiation, that the two sides would look very seriously and say, even if they can't come to a final conclusion, here are a few things we can accomplish. We can walk out of this meeting and say we have done something. So that's what I would hope for.
Case firing constantly on the border. What do you think about, like, in amid of the tense of the situation, the border line? What's your optimism like? What do you think? Like, do you see any optimism on the borderline happening there?
Well, I personally and my co-chair colleagues would like to see more confidence building measures, because when you have two armed sides facing each other in difficult terrain, not very far apart, there is always the chance for some kind of accident to happen that then spirals out of control. So getting to the point where both sides could accept at least some confidence building measures For example, pulling back snipers would be helpful. For example, allowing more observers on the line of contact would be helpful. New electronic equipment on the line of contact would be helpful. So things like that. I know that at this point it would be difficult to ask for a total demilitarization, although that would be good. So what we have to do is look for those things that can help to reduce the possibility of some kind of a military accident that then gets out of control.
My last maybe question is more global. I always ask you and previous co-chairs about environment of working with Russia. Is it hard in this situation now with deteriorating relations? And you always answer that we are working closely. Now I want to ask my question differently. Does the environment, overall environment of deteriorated relations between Washington and Moscow influence on your work, and how do you work in this environment?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. It's no secret that Russia and the United States are in a bit of a difficult diplomatic situation right now in how we regard each other, what we want for the future. But I will repeat what I have before, and it's the truth. Historically, even when Moscow and Washington have had difficult relations, there have always been areas where we continue to work well together. Maybe at the top, the headline news doesn't look good, but when you get down to specific issues, specific problems to work on together, where we do cooperate, that continues, and it continues today on Nagorno-Karabakh. I have, and I've said this before, and I mean it, I have the highest respect for my Russian colleague, Ambassador Igor Popov. He and I work together well, as we do with our French colleague, and I have seen absolutely no change in how we work together and how we regard each other, just because sometimes the politicians are bumping up against each other. For us, the work continues, and we do it arm in arm.
And what's your ideal vision for the region? What will be the dream solution for this conflict?
The dream solution for this conflict is to find a resolution, to find the compromises that would demilitarize the situation and that eventually would lead to peace and prosperity and full security for the people, for the populations, for the countries, and for the entire region.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Is there anything you would like to add? We didn't ask you maybe anything important going on.
Well, knock on wood, but it has been a relatively, I emphasize relatively, quiet period on the line of contact between the two sides. Maybe that's just because it's summer. We know that we're going to be much more busy this fall, starting in September. September and October will be lots and lots of travel and diplomacy going on. So we're all looking forward to seeing what we can achieve in the coming months.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you.